first time in Formula One history, no one can outspend anyone else. Everyone has the same amount of money to spend.
Well, all of the paperwork is the same for every single team. 9 teams have complied, 1 team hasn't. There's just no excuse for it.
If you don't respect the rules, you need to receive a penalty. That is pretty clear.
Some rumours suggest it might be a rather large sum.
Zach said that the overspend for each constitutes cheating, so I just wanted to get your reaction to that.
I prefer not to speak. F1 25 has been out for just over a week now, and while everyone is beginning their new My Team career modes and trying to build a successful, dominating team in F1, I've made it my mission to breach the cost cap to see what happens. I've begun by creating a new team, and I quickly realised that in order to spend loads of money, I first needed to have loads of money. So I immediately covered my car with as many sponsors as possible, which I think looks great. However, it became clear that breaching the cost cap in this game would actually be really difficult. The cost cap in F1 25 only includes spending on facility running costs, car development, improvements to the engineering facility, and car repairs. I had the idea to crash out of every single session at every single Grand Prix of the season, but for some reason the game just massively underestimates repair costs. I mean, according to the game, these 5 crashes combined cost the team just $60,000 in repairs.
What?
So to try and breach the cost cap, I had to rely on pretty much just upgrades to the car and improvements to the engineering facility. I decided to first of all simulate through a few seasons so that I could rack up some money and research as many upgrades as possible ahead of one crazy season of spending.
A few inches later.
I ended up simulating through 4 seasons in total, which allowed me to build up over $500 million of cash and increase my weekly running cost to just under $1 million. I was quite tactical about which facility improvements to do, as for example I stopped doing personnel improvements when the only option was to do an upgrade that would make future facility improvements cheaper, which is obviously not at all what I want. By the start of Season 5, I felt completely ready to begin a season of spending as much money as possible. I was honestly quite nervous that I wouldn't be able to breach it, as I'd already spent a lot of time getting the career mode to this position and it seemed like quite a difficult task, but I begun by immediately doing some improvements to the engineering facility, developing new upgrades for the car, researching new parts, and even doing some activities to speed up this process. There was so much to do and so much money to spend that it took me over 10 minutes to even get to the first race of the season, as I was just in a constant cycle of doing improvements and upgrades as soon as I could. But it seems to be paying off though, as I'd already spent around $17 million before the first race weekend. For some reason, the cost cap graph is kind of messed up and says that I start the season having already spent $100 million, but this is just being weird and doesn't change the fact that I need to spend over $135 million this season in order to breach the cost cap. For the first few races of the season, I went into each race and crashed myself and my teammate out to maximise repair costs, but this actually ended up being a mistake, as these crashes caused development to get paused while the team made the repairs. Thankfully, I realised this after not too long, so I obviously stopped crashing out so that I could keep developing parts as quickly as possible. After not too long, I unlocked the ability to rush development, which was fantastic news for me as it increased the chances of development failing, which then meant I could spend even more money to redevelop it. And here at Webby Racing, it is all about inefficiency and excessive spending. After many weeks of spamming facility improvements and rushing every single development to the car, my spending was massively increasing and I was starting to gain hope that I would be able to breach the cost cap. However, by the time I got to the Belgian Grand Prix, I had maxed out my car's developments, so could then only rely on facility improvements. Just before the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, I reached phase 4 on my engineering facility, and when I went to check my spending, I was delighted to see that I had finally breached the cost cap, which honestly made me so happy. I didn't see any message about breaching it or anything, and I decided that I was not done there, so I kept spending as much money as possible for the rest of the season to make sure I had the biggest possible overspend. By the end of the season, I had almost completed every single engineering facility improvement, and I'd gone from the slowest car on the grid to fully maxed out thanks to going over the cost cap. So what would the punishment be? Well, as I completed the season, I was informed that I had in fact exceeded the cost cap by $45.2 million, but then it looked like I had gotten away with it as I entered into the next season. But then all of a sudden, I was told that there were repercussions and to check my messages to see what my penalty is.
I don't get nervous, but I'm starting to get a bit shaky, you know what I mean? I'm a little bit weak.
And in a direct email from the FIA, I was told that I had a points deduction of 75 points in the Constructors' Championship for the upcoming season, and as well my spending allowance had been reduced by 25%.
It's not fair, eh?
I checked the standings and sure enough, I was starting the season on minus 75 points, which did look quite funny.
It's a disgrace.
But it started to make me think that maybe this was actually quite a lenient penalty. 75 points is obviously a lot, but when you consider that my team went from 0 points in Season 4 to 213 points in Season 5, thanks to the upgrades and overspending, then maybe it actually wasn't such a harsh penalty. But you know what? Fair play to EA for making the FIA so lenient, as this might be one of the most realistic features of this game. Anyway, that'll be all for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.